All right. Thanks so much for hopping on today. I know this is lunchtime for many of you, so we will get through this information as fast as possible. Please let me know if you have questions throughout the webinar. Like I said, you can use that chat feature to type anything at any time, and I will make sure you guys don't have questions before we get off at the end also. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sarah. I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor. I've been teaching and training for 17 years. I did not go to school to do that. However, I was a speech pathologist for about 10 years. I enjoyed being a speech pathologist, but it was not my passion and my love. So I am now doing what I truly love. I teach and train in person, and the biggest part of my business, my fitness business, is actually doing online training. Online training really works for me, and it seems to work for everyone else because I don't have to literally be there with them. I don't have to do a workout at a specific time. So I work with a lot of busy moms, and so this works really well. I send them workouts. We talk every day. We video chat. We do lots of different things like that. So it works well with scheduling. And we've had great success with it. So this is part of what I do with my business, Refine Life Fitness, is do online boot camp trainings as well. Again, lots of success with these. I've had people who have lost lots of weight, who have continued on the programs, have moved on to do different things. And so there's lots of different avenues that you can pursue with this as well. But this is my brand new boot camp. I have actually been trying this out on some of my VIP online clients for almost a year now, and we've just tweaked things as we've gone, and I've done tons of research on intermittent fasting and carb cycling, and so this is where all of this kind of came together from my reading, my research, and guinea pigging it on some of my clients. So first of all, if you start thinking about this boot camp, and if you're someone who is just starting in fitness, if you feel like you're more of a beginner, you don't really know a whole lot about nutrition, macros, that sort of thing, this boot camp may not be for you, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea. It is not for everyone. If you are a beginner, it isn't for you. However, if you do feel like I'm talking to you right now, don't hop off. Listen to the webinars, lots of great information for you, but do know that I have other programs that may be a better fit for you. So you can email me if you want to discuss that in more detail. So how many of you, and if you want to use the chat feature, feel free at this point, how many of you have been working out and eating well, you feel like for months, maybe years, longer, and you're not seeing or feeling results? You feel like, I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but I'm just not seeing what I want to see. I feel like I should be feeling more or seeing the weight come off easier. I know that this is pretty much what most women say. I feel like I'm doing all the right things. I just had that last 5 pounds, that last 10 pounds. I got this little middle, whatever. It's so common. So many times our bodies are just not responding because we are not, yes, exactly. We are not giving it time to repair. We're taking, we're going to talk about some of those today. So we're not giving it time to actually repair, and so that could be some of the problem. So one of the things that I talk about in this actual program are fat triggers. Fat triggers are not just what we eat. It's not just the processed food. It's dairy, it's gluten, it can be all of those things, but it can also be lack of sleep. It can be living in a calorie deficit. It can be daily stress. All of these things are what we call fat triggers. I'm not going to go into detail about the actual fat triggers today, but it's something we talk about in great detail throughout the program. But just know it's not always just what's going in your mouth at all times. There are fat triggers in our environment, things that we do have control of, not all of them, but some of them we do have control of. So we talk more about that in the program, but what I want to talk to you about really today is exercise and nutrition. We know that not exercising at all will pack on the pounds to our body. It will atrophy our muscles. It will decrease our bone density. It increases our risk of heart disease, all of those things. We probably already know that. But what about over-exercising? How does that affect our body? So let's talk about that really quick. So real quick, if somebody, at least one of you, can use the chat feature, And tell us about how long you exercise every day. So when you are going to work out, how long are you going to work out during that time frame?
This is Jenny. I can't use the computer.
Girl, you're good. You're good.
I mean, I try to exercise about 5 times a week, but I think it's the diet portion that's getting me.
Okay, good. So about how long are you working out at a time?
30 minutes to,
Okay.
And then I try to do about 3 days a week, take a spin class. I really like those.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so that's great, Jenny. That's perfect. So what I find a lot is that women especially, they feel like they need to work out for an hour, 2 hours. They need to exercise for long periods of time. And you really, honestly, you don't. More and more of the research, and I'm talking about research that's been happening over the past 10 years, 13 years actually, has been proven time and time again that over exercising has the same effect on our body as not exercising and under eating. So you're not going to see the benefit from exercising from an hour to 2 hours. And trust me, this is hard for me to say. I'm a group fitness instructor, and our classes are typically an hour long. But what our research is saying is that our body is not benefiting. We're only wearing our body down. We're creating injuries. And honestly, from 30 minutes on, our body doesn't respond. Our body stops responding to what we're doing. It's almost like it just shuts itself down. So that first 20 to 30 minutes is critical when you're doing your workout. After that, you feel like you're going to continue to push, but your body doesn't want to respond the same. So real quick, I'll give you a little story about myself. And this is really before I did a whole lot of research as far as the nutrition side of things. In my early 20s, I did 2 different pageants, and I was not a pageant girl, but I did 2 prelims, one for Miss Virginia and one for Miss Tennessee, 2 different years. I won both of them, and I ended up going to both of those state pageants. And like I said, it was not in the whole scene, but my sponsors were like, you know what, I don't have the pageant girl body. Like, I'm not a stick figure. I have a lot of muscle on my body. And so they're like, you really need to drop about 15 pounds. And so they had me on this program where, and this is for 2 years here, 1 year in Miss Virginia, 1 in Miss Tennessee. They had me on a program where I was literally cardioing myself to death. I was doing cardio for 2 to 4 hours a day for 2 years. 2 to 4 hours a day. They're like, if you just do more cardio, more intense, then you'll get that weight off. It didn't happen. I was actually bigger then in both of those pageants than I am now, 18, 19 years later and 3 kids later. It just didn't happen because my body wasn't responding, because that low form of cardio activity that you try to do and you think, if I just do more, if I just put in more time, your body just doesn't respond to it. And so that's just a very personal example. At the time, I just thought, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I'm doing what you're telling me to do. It's not happening. So that's just what our bodies do. They just don't respond after a while. So this is why strength training is so essential to what we do. Cardio will not change our body composition. Strength training is essential. If you want to feel a difference, if you want to see a difference in your body, you must do strength training. So in the program, the fat burning program that I've created, all of our workouts are between 20 to 30 minutes long. They vary from bar to yoga, Pilates, to a fusion class, to weight training, cardio intervals, and we put everything kind of together. So you never get bored. All the workouts are different. You keep your muscles guessing every single day, and you challenge your muscles with strength and cardio. So we get both forms in. And that's what creates the change. So that's a little bit about the exercise. The other thing about the exercise in this program is that the exercise goes with how we are eating each day. So each day our eating is a little bit different, our nutrition intake. And so probably most of you have not really trained how you're going to eat that day. I mean, if you have, let me know, but that's not really typical. We typically are like, okay, well, I worked out, now I'm going to eat healthy, but you don't think about exactly what you're going to eat and how you're going to train. And so in the program, we will eat a certain carb amount. So let's say we're doing a low carb day. We're going to pair that low carb day with a cardio interval workout. The reason is that's going to burn a little bit more fat from our bodies when we do that. So I'm not going into detail about the whole schedule, but here's the example. So we do a low carb day, and on that morning, you're going to do a fasted cardio interval workout. I say fasted because I don't want you to eat before you do your workout. You're going to do your workout before you eat so that your body is already in that fasted state, and that is going to tap into more of your fat stores. Then we're going to eat low carb. You're going to create a big burning machine throughout your body. You're going to burn a ton of calories on those days without really even thinking about it, other than being mindful of how many carbs you're putting in your body on that day. So that's just a little bit of a rundown about how we pair nutrition with our workouts, which is pretty atypical as far as fitness goes. So I want to talk to you a little bit now about eating and how we live these days in a fed state, and how living in a fed state and under eating can affect our bodies. So at some point in time, most of us have probably under-eaten. We've under-eaten in the form of what we call a diet. Diets typically put us in a state of too little calories. So you probably have done something like this. I need to lose some weight, so I probably need to eat less. And so you eat less. And so you end up eating 1,200 calories or less, which is way too few calories. Maybe you do it for a month. Maybe you do it for a few months. But regardless, in the end, the result's always the same. You quit, right? You quit because it sucks. Mm-hmm. You quit because you're depriving yourself of eating day in and day out. And that's not fun. That's not how we want to live. You continue to deprive yourself. So you may initially see a drop in weight, but after a while, your body shuts down. It stops because you're not giving it what it needs. We also, in our society, tend to live in a constant fed state. So our bodies were actually not created to live in a fed state. So I'm sure you probably have heard, or maybe you've done this in the past, where you have eaten every 2 to 3 hours. Has anybody done that? Like eaten 5 to 6 small meals throughout your day? It was something that we did a lot about 10 years ago. It kind of got really popular. So you eat every 2 to 3 hours, meaning you're eating 5 to 6 small meals throughout your day. To me, that is so stressful. When do you stop thinking about what you're going to eat? You're eating all day. I mean, it's like I finished this meal and oh my gosh, 2 hours I got to eat again. What am I going to eat? It takes so much planning. It's exhausting, right? It's exhausting. So our bodies actually were not made to live in a constant fed state. And I'll give you a little bit of background about where that came from. So years ago, the idea behind eating every 2 to 3 hours came from the bodybuilding world. So bodybuilders are really into eating, protein, carbs in every meal, and that's great, but they eat every 2 to 3 hours. They do that so that they can bulk up, so they can get bigger and bigger. That's not typically our goal. So they want to be in that constant fed state. Well, why are we doing that? We are because we saw in the bodybuilding world how they were bulking up, but they were also decreasing their fat stores. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But we don't want to bulk up. Eating every 2 to 3 hours is great for someone like a bodybuilder or someone who is on that path of really wants to gain a ton of muscle. But typically that's not our goal. So the reality is that our bodies were made to live in a fed state, and they were made to live in a fasted state, both. So I want you to take a look for a minute. Think about our ancestors. They fasted all day long. They went and they hunted for food. They brought it back, and they had a feast. They fasted, they feasted. And that is how they lived. They were extremely healthy. They were lean. They were active. And so our digestive system is the same. It's the same as it was years ago. It was made to have a break, just like our muscles were made to have a break. So our body digests food, and it digests food for up to 16 hours after our meal. So think about that. If your body is digesting food for up to 16 hours after your meal, if we eat every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day, from dinner to breakfast the next day, we only give our bodies, well, 10 to 12 hours of a break, right? I mean, you can do the math for yourself, but typically from dinner through sleeping hours until breakfast the next day, 10 to 12 hours is what we're giving our body. And then we have our breakfast. So it never really gets a full rest and repair. This is truly essential to living a long and healthy life. As a matter of fact, I was just reading, I read a lot. I was just reading some research the other day of a study that's been going on for about five or 6 years with cancer patients. And cancer patients who were going through chemo, they had them on a fasting schedule because it helped their insides. It was helping their body repair from the inside. So when I read that, I was like, oh, well, yeah. So it really makes sense. It's very essential to living a long and healthy life. It's just like if you go to the gym and you're like, okay, today's bicep day and I'm going to work my biceps. You're not going to work your biceps 7 days a week. We don't do that because we know our muscles need a break to repair. So we're going to do it on alternating days. We're only going to work that muscle group maybe 2 days a week. This is exactly where that fasting comes in. And it's why we do the fasting. So I don't want you to be scared. When I say the word fasting, a lot of times people are like, whoa, wait a second. I'm not fasting. I cannot do this. I want to get something straight. So we're not going to fast for days at a time. We're not fasting for weeks or anything crazy like that. You will simply have times when you eat and you don't eat, and then you eat again. There will be days where you fast until noon. There may be days where you fast a little bit longer depending on where we are in the program, but I promise you that I'm not just going to throw you into, hey guys, you're going to fast for 5 days. Does that sound good? We don't do that. Our bodies weren't made to fast that long. Can we do it? Well, I mean, yeah, if you put your mind to it, I guess you could, but that's not the result that we want. I'm going to have you fast for just small periods of time. We will increase our fasting, and there's a method to the madness. So don't leave this webinar and think, okay, I'm just going to go not eat for the next day or two. I don't want you to do that. There's a reason that I have you work through all this, and we add a little bit here and there. We don't fast every day. The most that you ever fast is 2 days a week, but like I said, that does not happen at first. You don't ever have to fast 24 hours at all. You will listen to your body basically, and you will decide how you feel like you need to do it. And I will guide you through this. So it's not something that I want you to be scared about. It is so effective. And it's so funny. I had a client last week. She was like, okay, she signed up for the boot camp and she was like, okay, I've done boot camps with you before. I trust you. I'm just going to do it. She said, but I'm really afraid of the fasting. And so Monday she sent me a text and she said, I did it. I fasted till noon. I just tried it out and I was fine. I'm like, yeah, see, you can do it. I promise you can do it. It's not as scary as it sounds. So intermittent fasting is what we will be doing. Intermittent, meaning you do it, you don't do it. It's intermittent. So it's widely researched. It's extremely effective. It can be done in very different ways, but I have a certain schedule that we will follow. So don't just jump in and decide you're going to do it. There is definitely a method. So, but just like anything, too much of a good thing is counterproductive. Our fasting will be intermittent, eat, stop, eat type of protocols, but we'll be following. So I'm going to give you just a little bit more information on intermittent fasting so that you can kind of, know a little bit about why we're doing it, because I think that's important. And I personally like to know why I'm doing something. So your body burns fuel in the form of glucose. It gets that fuel typically from food. So it uses your food as fuel, like I'm sure you've heard, but it uses food as glucose. So it turns the food into glucose. It uses that to burn, to create the energy to keep you going throughout your day. If there's no glucose there, if there's no food, if you are fasting, then it starts burning fat. There's no glucose there for it. So it goes through the bloodstream, it looks for your glucose, and it can't find it. It starts to burn fat. That stimulates human growth hormone, which decreases fat cells, okay? Human growth hormone decreases fat cells. This is where the bodybuilders come in. Bodybuilders inject human growth hormone into their body. That's how they decrease their fat cells. Don't go signing up for those injections because that's not what you want to do. But this is how we are going to increase our human growth hormone. It decreases our fat cells. So when your hormone is increasing, your fat cells start to decrease. That's why the eating every 2 hours deal with bodybuilders works, because they're injecting themselves without human growth hormone. They're not fasting. They don't want to fast because they want to, bang out a ton of weight at a time. Again, not our goal. That's why we are fasting. We're not injecting. So the human growth hormone increases when you fast. We cannot keep it elevated at all times, because if we keep that human growth hormone elevated at all times, it stops responding. Just like when you were doing those low carb, low calorie diets, your body stops responding. So we can't continue to fast. And if you want to try to fast for days at a time, that HGH will stop responding. Okay. So that's why we do it intermittently. Hope that makes sense. Does anybody have questions about that? No, that's kind of technical, but I want to give you a little bit of an info on it. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in, or just say, hey, I got a question if you're on the phone. So carb cycling, the other little piece of what we do is carb cycling. There are tons of carb cycling programs. You can research it to death if you want to. Most carb cycling programs are really complex. I've tried many of them, and it is confusing because you got a high carb day, a low carb day, a low calorie day, a regular day, all these different days, and I honestly couldn't keep up with many of them that I tried. We're not going there. We're not getting super technical with the carb cycling because we don't have to, because we're incorporating intermittent fasting with it. So in this program, our carb cycling consists of low carb days, regular macro days, and feast days. That's it. So you don't need to be a slave to your calorie counts. I do not want you to be counting every single calorie. To me, that's not realistic. But you will need to be aware of your macros. And if that's a new word for you, macros are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. The 3 things that you need every single day as far as your nutrition goes. So we'll be aware of those. So I want you to quickly just tell you a little bit about feast day. It's my favorite day. It's my favorite day. Feast day is just that. We get to feast. I don't call it a cheat day, but you do get to have some of your favorites on feast day. My personal favorite, dark chocolate almonds. If you know me at all, you probably already know that. So dark chocolate almonds are my favorite. I save them up for feast day. If you like wine, go for it on feast day. You like a sweet treat, whatever. Those are the days that you have it. So this is a program that's not about depriving yourself. It is about changing what you think and how you think about food, when you're eating, how you're eating, and why you're eating. And it's also about giving yourself grace. Give yourself grace on feast day. I don't ever want you to feel guilty about feast day. Your calories will go up on feast day. That's what we want them to do. So feast day is somewhat of a reward day for having a fantastic week. So anyway, that's my personal favorite. And you find out lots more about it in the program. And does anybody have questions so far?
I have one. I don't travel that much for work, but I, of course, happen to be traveling in like 2 weeks, Monday through Friday. Do you think it's feasible to still be able to do a program when I have those weeks on the road in a hotel?
Yes. So the workouts that I have are very easy to do while traveling. So that's the first thing. There's not much equipment that you need. Really, the only thing that we'll use are weights. And if you don't have weights,
okay,
you could use a resistance band very easily. So we could talk about that more one-on-one, as far as, where you'll be and what you'll need and that sort of thing. And as far as the eating goes, did you say the first few weeks?
It's just for 1 week.
For a week. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like a Monday through Friday.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. You know, you will run into probably a few obstacles just because you won't have as much of control over what you're eating, if you're eating out and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it is totally doable. One of the things that I really try to do with all my programs is teach people how to live life. This is not a diet.
Right.
This is not a, hey, I'm gonna do this for 6 weeks and I'm gonna move on and do something different. I want you to be able to incorporate this into your life. And so if you travel, I want you to be able to know how to do this while you're traveling. And so in my personal opinion, when people say, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm gonna be on vacation for a week, I think that's a great time to start because it's gonna teach you right from the get-go how to do it. It is absolutely doable while you're traveling. Yeah. That's a great question. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Okay. If y'all don't have any questions, like I said, I had my VIP clients do some of this with me over the past year, and they have some testimonials that they wrote. I'm just going to read just a few of them so you get an idea of what they're saying, which some of them are kind of funny. One that says, this program is amazing. Once I got about a week into it and stopped doubting the process, I saw my body change in front of my eyes. That's pretty typical. I mean, it's different. It's different. So doubting the process is fine. This one says, I have been working out for years and eating well. No matter how much more exercise I didn't see a difference. But I still had 5 to 8 pounds to lose. Sarah's program has allowed me to finally lose that weight. I've kept it off for 3 months. This one is a lady I've been working with for a while. She said, I have to say I was very skeptical of this program at first. The thought of fasting made me very afraid. The way Sarah has you ease into fasting and carb cycling makes it a breeze. I have more energy now than I have in years. Plus, I've lost 12 inches in 6 weeks. She is phenomenal. I've actually worked with her for probably 2 years, I would say. And so the fact that she lost 12 inches, I was totally amazed because she's a hard worker. This one says, feast day is the best. I totally agree. I have dieted my entire life, but I've never participated in a plan that allows you to actually eat. I also enjoy the variety. Every day is different. And this last one says, I've lost 10 pounds, 8 inches in 4 weeks on Sarah's fat burning plan. The workouts are great, quick, and can be done anywhere. I definitely see myself making this a lifestyle change. Somebody have a question? No, Angie's asking if she has to stop her current schedule for 6 weeks. You don't have to, Angie. And is the diet general? So, okay. No, you don't have to stop what you're doing for 6 weeks, but I would encourage you to, when you can incorporate some of the workouts, to do them. I mean, I know some of the things that you enjoy doing, and it's totally fine to keep doing those, but I would absolutely want you to give some of the workouts a try because it will change. You know, you will see a change and feel a change in your body. So Angie, we can talk about what you're doing, and I know a little bit about what you're doing already, but we can talk about how to make the schedule work for what you're doing and kind of mesh it together. Make sense? And what else did you say? Is a diet general parameters or actual food plan with specific times? It's not specific times at all. I want you to eat on this plan when you're hungry and stop when you're about 80% full. If that means you want to eat 5 meals during the day, go for it. If that means you want to eat 2 meals, totally fine. It doesn't matter what time of day it is necessarily, unless we're fasting and I'm saying, you know, let's fast until noon today. But other than that, you eat when you want to eat in that time frame. The diet is general as far as the type of foods you eat. I will give you recipes. You don't ever have to make them, but I like to give them so you have an idea of what you can make. That's easy. As far as the type of food that you eat, it's going to be very clean. I recommend that you try to reduce gluten and dairy because those are inflammatories in our body and they're harder for our body to digest. But other than that, it's very general. Great question. Okay. if you guys have more questions, please let me know. I'm just going to kind of wrap things up here. I actually have one of these groups that's totally full right now. I opened up a second group, and I cannot open up another one just because I did not have time to manage it. So I do have one group that has some spots left. I have 5 spots right now remaining. We start on March 28th. So if you're interested, I recommend that you go ahead and go to the website and sign up sooner rather than later. Once those 5 are full, I just can't offer any more spots just because I want to be cognizant of my time and your time. My website is refinedlifefitness.com. When you click on the Burn Fat and Feast Bootcamp, you will see the register button, so you can register right on the website. As a reminder, I know some of you already know this, but I always give discounts. So if you have a friend who wants to join you, who joins the group, then you personally get 20% off. If you have 2 friends that join you, you get 40% off. And just remember, space is limited. If you want to do the friend referral program, email me today and we can talk about it and get both of you guys set up if you're interested in that. Remember, just one more reminder, it's not a beginner program. If you do feel like you're a beginner, no worries. I also have a beginner program that's starting on March 28th. I actually hate to say beginner because it's not really beginner. It's just if you need more guidance as far as the nutrition goes, that sort of thing. I think that is all. I'm so excited. Like, this is going to be so fun. It's really an incredible program. If you all have more questions, I'm happy to answer them right now. You can email me today. I'm pretty accessible on Thursdays. So let me know what questions you have. Again, 5 spots are left. I am more than happy to set up a phone consult with you too if you have more questions that you want to talk about privately. Thank you guys so much for taking time out to be on this call. And I will take any questions that you have. And if you don't, then I will just go ahead and sign off here.